To conquer the Atlantic, Adolf Hitler relied on a weapon where the most dangerous job belonged to a man who never fired a torpedo. While Allied destroyers hunted them from above, the 50-man crew of a German U-boat depended entirely on a single cook working in a kitchen the size of a broom closet. This tiny galley was positioned directly between the roaring diesel engines and the crew's living quarters, making it a suffocating hotspot. The temperature in this steel coffin regularly hovered around 115 degrees Fahrenheit, drenched in constant condensation. But heat was the least of the cook's worries, because every meal he prepared was a high-stakes battle against physics and rot. For the first 2 weeks of a patrol, the U-boat was so packed with food that crewmen had to crawl over loaves of bread just to move. Sausages, smoked meats, and crates of potatoes occupied every square inch of available space, even hanging inside the crew's shared toilet. This meant the crew had to use a single toilet for weeks, while the cook carefully managed the rapidly spoiling inventory. As the moist, salty air of the Atlantic penetrated the steel hull, white mold would quickly blanket the fresh bread. The cook's daily routine began by meticulously scraping this mold off the loaves so the men could eat without falling violently ill. If food poisoning swept through a cramped submarine, the entire vessel would be rendered instantly defenseless. Cooking on a 3-burner electric stove required incredible balance as the submarine pitched and rolled through violent Atlantic storms. The cook had to hold heavy, boiling pots of soup with his bare hands to prevent them from sliding off the stove and scalding him. The floor of the galley was constantly slick with grease and condensation, turning every movement into a slip hazard. To make matters worse, the cook was strictly forbidden from using open flames, as any spark could ignite the highly volatile battery gases. As the patrol dragged into its second month, the fresh food inevitably ran out, forcing a transition to canned rations. These canned meats and dried vegetables were so tasteless that the crew mockingly referred to them as submarine collision paste. The cook's primary weapon against mutinous morale was a meager spice cabinet, using heavy seasoning to disguise the taste of decay. If the food tasted like rubber, the crew's mental health plummeted, directly affecting their combat readiness during crucial torpedo runs. But the true nightmare began when the U-boat was spotted by Allied destroyers and forced to dive deep. In an instant, the cook had to shut down all electrical appliances to conserve vital battery power and silence the ship. Hot pots were abandoned, and the galley went pitch black as the crew braced for the inevitable depth charges. Under attack, the cook was not allowed to simply hide. He had to help reload torpedoes or operate the manual bilge pumps. As depth charges exploded nearby, the shockwaves rattled the hull, breaking dishes and tossing the cook across the greasy floor. The smell of spilled soup mixed with diesel fumes, battery acid, and the sweat of 50 terrified men trapped in a steel tube. During these prolonged depth charge attacks, which could last for over 30 hours, the oxygen levels inside the boat began to drop dangerously. To preserve what little air remained, the captain would order all men not on duty to lie completely still in their bunks. But the cook still had to prepare cold rations, moving in slow, measured steps to avoid consuming precious oxygen. Every deep breath he took was a luxury that stole minutes of survival time from the rest of the crew. Even when the attack ended and the U-boat survived, the cook's torment was far from over. He had to immediately clean the chaotic mess of spilled grease and broken glass before it could contaminate the remaining food supply. Any leftover grease on the warm metal surfaces would quickly turn rancid, creating an unbearable stench in the closed environment. This smell, combined with the lack of ventilation, made the galley a breeding ground for respiratory illnesses. Yet, despite the wretched conditions, the cook was expected to maintain an air of absolute normalcy for the crew. On Sundays, he would attempt to bake a cake, using substitute ingredients to give the men a brief taste of the home they might never see again. These small culinary victories were often the only thing preventing a psychological breakdown among the young, sleep-deprived sailors. Of the 40,000 men who served in the German U-boat force during World War II, nearly 30,000 never returned home. For the cooks who sailed among them, their battle was fought not with torpedoes, but with a stove, a knife, and sheer willpower against the dark. The story of the U-boat cook reveals that the ultimate test of military endurance is often found not in the grand strategy of generals, but in the silent, desperate struggle to maintain humanity inside a steel machine of war.